Welcome back to the Haas Online training series. In this session, we're going to take a look at the Trade on Trendlines bot. The Trade on Trendlines bot was created for instances where we've identified a trend with our TA and want to execute on that without the hassle of setting up a bot with indicators, safeties, and insurances, or trying to configure one of the other custom bots to do so. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. So the Trade on Trendlines bot is actually very simple to use. If you know how to draw trend lines on a chart, whether it be TradingView, Haas chart, or Koinigi, then you definitely already know how to use and set up this bot. All it requires is you to know how to identify a trend and draw it out. So let's go ahead and add it. So if we go over here on the left hand side under custom bots, click that, click the plus sign, and then let's go ahead and just scroll down until we see trend lines bot. Switch this to 88, add bot, go ahead and click in, and you'll see we have a few settings to begin with, and then there's this button called full screen. Now, it's important to note, if you see the full screen button, that means that there's more features to the bot, more things to configure than what you see on this initial screen. Now, generally for some bots, you can configure the entire bot from this single screen, but most of the time, the full screen setup is also required. So let's go ahead, let's just go down this list, and then we'll jump into full screen mode. So of course we have our general bot settings. Then we have our trade amount. So trade amount, you've seen this in other bots, basically what side of the position are we on? Do we have BTC or do we have ADA? In this case, we're going to use ADA. How much we want to buy. And then there's two templates. There's a limit and market. Now, the template decides how our order is going to be placed. So for example, we know what a limit order is and we know what a market order is. What this bot allows us to do is pick how do we want to handle different orders. So for normal orders, our buy and sell orders, we can say we want it to be a limit. However, our stop losses, we can say we want it to be market to get us out of the position quickly. And this really depends on your own level of risk and what you think the market's going to do. But generally, limit's fine or limit market's fine. Or if you're not worried about slippage, you can do market. It really comes over to how you want to use the bot. Me personally, I would be using a limit market setup. Not financial advice, just how I trade with it. The next thing we have is our fee. Now, obviously, this again goes based on the exchange you're using. So Bittrex will be 0.25. BitMEX might be different. Binance will be different. So just make sure to know what your fee amount is, or your calculations are going to be wrong when you match it up towards what the exchange shows. Next, you'll see this enable order chasing. Now, order chasing is a concept that's only in the Trade on Trendlines bot. And basically what this says that is if our order is missed, meaning we place the limit order in and it doesn't get filled and the market starts moving away from us, do we want to try to place another order in? Do we want to chase the price? Now, generally when you're watching trading videos, they say chasing your price is the worst thing you can do. But with a bot, it can do it quickly and it can do it without hesitation in both ways. So if we were to enable order chasing, we can tell it to chase the order XYZ amount of times. That means with a 1 minute timeout, how often do we want to try and chase our order if we miss it? And it's going to be anywhere from 1 to 100. But most of the time, if you're not comfortable with chasing your orders, or that's just not how you'll be taught, you can go ahead and leave it at 0. Now, we did say we need to go to full screen, so let's go ahead and click full screen. When you go full screen, there's a few things that'll show up. Now, if you're familiar with some of our full screen setups, you'll already immediately notice this setup where it allows us to do back testing, view our trades, clear our history, delete the bot, or clone the bot. And then you'll notice this same setup. It's kind of our general settings, so we can select which bot we're looking at, or our chart interval. So by default, it goes to 1 hour. But for this example, let's go ahead and click 15 minutes. And now we'll have a 15-minute time frame. And then, of course, down here we have some profit information. How much profits the bot making, what was its fees, what was its gains, what's our total return on investment been for this bot. Now next, if we go to general settings, all these settings look the same from the first page. So we're going to go ahead and skip over this. The more important part is the trend lines page. Now this is actually where we're going to go ahead and create our trend lines. Now, if you remember what I said, if you know how to draw trend lines on another chart viewer, whether it be TradingView, Koinigi, or Haas chart, then you know how to use this bot. So let's go ahead and click Add Set. Now, what does that do? Haas's Trade on Trendlines, the only environment where you can have multiple sets of trend lines on the same bot in the same time frame. And what I mean by that is we can have, two trend lines going in an uptrend, with two others going in a sideways market in the same bot, and they'll be treated as different separate individual orders and cells so they don't get confused. It's kind of really cool, but for this example, we're just going to go ahead and stick with a single setup. So I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit here. Now the first thing we have to do is we need to draw our buy line. So if we click draw, we'll click here and we'll just left click and we'll drop it. Now I know this is a really bad trend line, guys, just showing you how it works. Forgive me. The next thing we need to do is set our cell. So we're going to go ahead and set a cell. Let's just drop a cell, something that looks like that. And then what we'll have is this identify set. Now if we click identify set, it's just going to kind of make it bright up. So if we click it, you'll notice we can see a box that shows our set of trend lines. Is active means did we hit a buy or were we hitting a sell? And then we just set our stop loss. So let's say we wanted a pretty loose stop loss, set 4%. We hit save. That's it. If we hit start now, the bot will begin to buy and sell on these rather crude trend lines. But what this should be able to show you is we can quickly set up a bot on a trend we identify and have it trade successfully on it. Now, there is another thing to note is that the bot will only trade on the trend line for the time frame you drew it in. That means that this does not go on infinitely. These buy signals will stop at 2:30 a.m. So if we need it to go further, we need to zoom out and draw the line out further. And then of course you can see just a little bit down here, you'll see our stop loss kind of just hiding off in the distance. And we can see where our stop loss will be for each set. Hopefully that was easy for you to understand. You can see the power of the trade on trend lines. If you have any questions, just leave a comment below or join us on Discord where there's a bunch of other users who are talking about how to use these bots and sharing settings. And as always, if you want to see more videos like this, just hit the subscribe button. Until next time.